Hello, everybody. It's probably Red, and today we have a pretty interesting thing. Okay, let me explain. So before you're seeing all kinds of cards from the booster packs that they presented on the Kickstarter. So you have all of these cards are from specifically the factions of Synth and Survivor. So these are the Synth and Survivor faction cards. I move my mic a little bit closer. Okay, so what are we doing here? So you can see kind of that some of these are sleeved and some of these are not. So I've gone ahead and made 40 cards plus I also and 40 cards and a boss. Okay, so the blue light's kind of shining on that. Oh, it's from this. Okay, so that's gonna be a thing. Um, but hopefully you can kind of read the cards here. I don't know if this is a camera that focuses, but we're gonna try that. Let me point that a little bit closer to me. There we go. Okay. So what we're discussing today is kind of like how I came to like. First of all, I think it's an interesting idea, to go ahead and try out, um, printing it out and trying a constructed format. Like they've got a set up to play some booster pack style battles, but once you've done that, you might be interested in trying out a format that's like more constructed. So from what I could determine, you could make like highly playable 40 card decks using that 3 copy limit. Um, so we're gonna try it out. We're gonna try out the deck building process right now and kind of see what we have going here. So let's look at some of the decisions I made in this process. So first of all, we're gonna talk about cards that we just straight up cut from this set. And before that, actually, you know what factions we're playing. We're playing Synth Survivor. Okay. So with that in mind, um here's some of the cards. There I noticed a couple of things. So we're going to start by talking about this card. Granny Picker Upper. And I guess I could have done this on like the actual like website and stuff and had the cards up that way, but I kind of wanted to try out the whole camera technique thing and see how that did. And man, it's a little bit blurrier than I wish it was. A little bit odd, and the blue light is just intense. But anyways, at least we know we're recording. Okay. So, why didn't I include Grammy Picker Upper? Okay. So the purpose of excluding that card is and the same with Motrina Step Monster. There just isn't enough cards that are weapons in this deck. I just thought like, okay, so it is this pool of cards from these 4 packs. And oh yeah, I did print out all 4 packs 3 times so you could have play sets at least or at most. So with that, um, we didn't have a lot of weapons. In fact, the only weapon in the Survivor, and of course we could have gone with a different combination for the synths, but this is what I ended up deciding on. Um, but because we went with this combination, there was only one weapon, and that being jacked hammer, which is a level 1 weapon with 1 wield cost, and it's a +1 attack. Okay, so that's a pretty nice weapon, but just having one weapon isn't going to be enough for these weapons based units. Like their abilities pretty much center around just having weapons. Otherwise, they're pretty much vanilla units. And then Mana, soft speaker here. Um, she's a level 1 fighter from the Synth faction with 3 health and 1 attack cost and 1 attack from the defaced subtype. The first time she becomes enhanced, draw a card. Now we do have ways of enhancing, but our enhancements center more on the whatchamacallits, the Survivor faction. Like here's an example. Wow, that is very, very bright blue light. Okay. So, and the shadows are messing with me a little bit. All right. Wow. Okay, it's hard to use a camera, man. At least so far. I'll get used to it. Okay. Wow, the blue light. Okay, maybe we can do it like this. Okay, so this is Turner's strap hanger. I'm gonna just do it like that. How about that? Turner's strap hanger. When Turner enters play, put a +1 attack counter on target survivor fighter. Okay, but she's a level 1, 2 health, 1 attack cost, 1 attack damage unit from Van Houten. So it specifies survivor fighter. And then we ended up going, I know we're kind of jumping around, but we'll get to like a more organized section of this in a second. I'm just talking about the 3 main exclusions. Now we did exclude more cards than that, but those just kind of like just stood out as those aren't going to synergize with the deck. This is a very good card. All 3 of these seem like very good cards. Just in a deck that doesn't have weapons, and in the case for Mana that doesn't have very many, enhancement cards, because the first time that Mana becomes enhanced, you get to draw a card, but you need +1 attack counters, fortifications, and wielded weapons. It's just not enough, I think, to run her as your 1-drop. Yeah. So those are cards I just thought, yeah, we're not going to run those strictly because there's just not enough. Like, it's more survivor focused. And then I think that Trapper would be perfectly fine as the boss of this. But since we went so survivor heavy, I figured we could go with Sky because of that synergy. And the fact that he's just going to keep getting you fighters. I think that he's going to be the choice for this. We have some other exclusions here. And then these are partial exclusions. Like, for example, Skell, Mr. Purple, Jackhammer, and Likay, Clockwork Hunter. We all have copies of that. Now, the other 5 cards that we just didn't run any copies, and a couple of these I'm like, yeah, I could have run some. Like Willie B. Newcomer could have been in there. Honestly, if we didn't have so many 6-drops, Max Homicide King would have made it. And that's the same case, especially with Nodamoda. Oh, my goodness, that name. That's hard to say. Nodamatua, Death Punch probably would have made it too if we just didn't have such a good suite of Survivor 6-drops, which we'll get there in a second. But Stay Hydrated, I don't know if this card is good yet. And then Best Offense, I felt like it was kind of unfortunate that we couldn't run Grammy, because I think this card is so good with Grammy. It's a 3 token cost synth tactic that says deal damage to target boss or fighter equal to the greatest health among fighters on your team. And then just real quick on Stay Hydrated. Stay Hydrated is a 1-cost response. I didn't think about the fact that it's a response. It might have a place, at least as a 1-of in here, but we're going more fighter focused, so I don't know. Target boss or fighter gains 2 health. Now, that makes it a little bit better that's a response. I didn't think about that part. But other than that, the 4 cards that we just had extra copies of that we didn't end up running are right here. I mentioned them earlier, and we'll get into them as we get into the actual cards we are running. But I just thought that those were kind of cards that we had the most likelihood of excluding, just because they just, you'll see. Okay, so next, we already talked about Sky, and we'll read him in a second. But let's go ahead and slide these over. We're not running these. And the thing is as we kind of play test it and play games with it, we can try more and more of these cards that we're excluding at the moment, and sort of like, tweak the deck and see what's good. And that'll go on as we introduce more and more cards to the format. And I consider this sort of like a pseudo smaller format, just a really easy way to get cards and be playing with them. And I mean, you would be familiar after a couple of games, so they would all be cards that you've seen after you played a couple of the booster battle kind of format thing. And then once you do try out the constructed stuff, you're already familiar with, at least you've most likely seen at least a good majority of these cards in those games. So that'll be a nice smooth entry into the next thing, and all you gotta do is print out some extra copies of it. Yeah, so that makes that, in my opinion, pretty. I'm just getting this reset real quick, so we can have everything on showcase here. And the curve is a little bit odd. We are a little bit heavy. We'll just talk about that on the 6-drops. Whoa. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of heavy on the 6-drops. So we got 5 total. And we're kind of go backwards on the curve here, but we've got 3 5-drops and then 4 4-drops. We've got 6 3-drops, and those are all survivors in those. And then it gets kind of complicated because there's a difference between a fighter as a 2-drop and a response or a tactic as a 2-drop. Those are just different cards. So we have 6 total 2-drops, 3 of which are fighters and 6 of which are tactics slash responses. And then for our 1-drops, we have 8 different 1-drop fighters, and they're all survivor fighters. So that'll be great for our champion Sky early sending out units, reducing that cost. I mean, you could just on turn 1, if you get lucky enough, drop 3 and then swing in for 2 with Sky. And then if one of them is Scale, you can swing in with him too. Like, it could get crazy. Yeah, and then additionally, we're also running 2 level 1 weapons in Jacked Hammer and 3 1 token cost cash monies, which are also going to accelerate our attacking, and also possibly hook us up to play our signal jam and decisive victories early, which this card isn't. Oof, that keeps happening. Yeah, okay, so just real quick, a little bit of inside baseball here. The base of the I gotta fix that anyway. It's TMI, but yeah, the base of the camera like swivels, and it doesn't not swivel. Like, I gotta fix that. Yeah. So yeah, the decisive victory isn't like, you don't want to necessarily play that early because you're gonna want to get a bunch of stuff out. But I mean, it's I think our only piece of removal that we're actually running in this deck. I mean, other than attacking is removal, but it kind of gives you that utility of being able to attack over defensive units and take out key pieces, or just deal an exorbitant amount of damage. Like, I mean, there's a very high potential, higher than pretty much any attack in the entire deck. All right, so we've kind of gone over what we're including, like as far as the curve. Now, what does this deck like kind of feel like as far as like what are we going for? What's our strategy? And I'm thinking, like, I mean, Sky is pretty much our strategy. This is what we're going for. We are going for, and I'll read Sky real quick. He's a 17 health boss from the Survivor faction, and he's got a 3 token cost attack that does 2 damage. When he's attacked, he gains agility this level, and then his attack cost is reduced by 1 token for each survivor fighter on your team. This is kind of why we want those low drop fighters. This is why we want such a heavy amount of fighters. And then, yeah, it's kind of more of a survivor deck than a survivor synth deck. The synth is kind of a splash. Okay, so then you can pay 3 tokens and tap Sky to reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a fighter, and put it in your hand, and then put the rest in the bottom of your deck in a random order. So that's going to keep our hand full. If we can do that as much as possible, we're going to keep getting fighters. Yeah. So that's what we're going for there. And then we're going to start talking about the actual cards we included. I don't know how good Cash Money is in this deck, but I just feel like it's such a strong card that we would be kind of like remiss, if I'm using that correctly, to not include Cash Money. Just being able to accelerate our tokens, get more attacks in, that's more damage, that's more like removal in the form of attacking. It just seems like it's just going to make the deck that much better. I can't see it being bad, even in a deck that doesn't kind of have those high cost tactic token cost payoffs. You can still attack. You can still do something with Cash Money. And then Jacked Hammer, it's not like the greatest in this. It does synergize with some of our other cards, like specifically Paya Laser Focused. Real quick, we'll go over to that card. It lets you destroy enhancements to draw cards, and I think that Jacked Hammer is sort of like a perfect card. I wish I could get the camera to focus. I don't even know if this camera can do that. But anyways, I'll read the card. Weapons enter wheel to do a fighter is what that text says there. But it's a level 1. I read this earlier, but a level 1 token cost to wield and +1 attack. And it's just kind of like, it's going to make your attacks more efficient. And it's going to have a little bit of that synergy with some of your cards that don't get that. Like, they need it. Like, Paya is, I feel like, a very strong card. And I think that this is going to just be enough synergy there to help out. Similarly, we've got Turner, Strap Hanger, and man, I wish I just, the text. I don't know if it's the sleeves I'm using or what's going on, but it's I think it might be the camera. Okay, so we'll work on that. That's a work in progress. Man, it was so much clearer on the screen. Hopefully, maybe with like, we'll see, we'll see. Anyways, no more inside baseball. So this is a level 1 survivor fighter from the Van Houten sub faction, and they have 2 health, and they have a 1 attack cost with 1 attack. Okay, so here's kind of more synergy with Paya, which it's kind of synergy, but also kind of dis-synergy. Anyways, when Turner enters, you put a +1 attack counter on target survivor fighter. So she can't actually buff Paya up, but Paya can destroy that +1 attack counter to get you to draw more cards. So, and then Turner doesn't even need another survivor fighter. She can just put it on herself, I think, anyways, themselves. And you're good to go. So this seems like it's going to be good. I mean, it's at least a level 1, 2 health, 1 attack cost, 2 attack, which I think is pretty solid. And then this is kind of more of a utility toolbox kind of card. Zani Nobody's Full is a level 1, 1 health, 1 attack cost, and 1 attack. Another Van Houten card, and you just can't attack Zani Nobody's Fool, which is amazing. But if you're playing Zani, you can respond and block for 1 token and tapping. So she can save one of your other units. She can save your boss some health. Yeah, so it can be really good. I just think this is a really interesting unit. I can't wait to see how it plays. I think it's going to be very fun, and very awesome. Just a very unique set of abilities from what we've seen. Yeah. And then Skell is a vanilla card. We've talked about Skell. We've also talked about Zani a couple times, but now Skell is a vanilla card. Like, he's got no actual this is just flavor text, but he's a level 1 with 2 health, and then he's got 0 attack cost and 1 attack. So this is really nice to just get out early with Sky. Gives you a chance to kind of reduce your attack cost early, and then it's swinging out. So you're saving your tokens. Now, you can't save tokens between levels, but you can spend your tokens on other attackers. We've got plenty of attackers that cost tokens to attack with. Then we got our 1 removal piece, Decisive Victory. I mean, it's the only removal besides attacking. And technically, Signal Gem could copy or change the target of a tactical response. But Decisive Victory deals damage to target fighter equal to the number of bosses and fighters on your team. And so far, I didn't mention some of these are 2 of, some of those are 3 of, but you kind of can see how many there are here. We did all those so far were 3 ofs, and then we got 2 of on the Jacked Hammer and 2 of on the Skell. So yeah, so I think Decisive Victory will be pretty interesting. It has a really high ceiling, and it's got a pretty low floor, but yeah, so it could just do nothing if you're really behind. But if you got kind of, I don't know if there's parity in this game. I don't know if you can reach parity. You're always going to want to attack, it feels like. You're always going to want to be doing something. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that plays out. But anyways, moving on to Signal Jam. So this is a response, and it's going to change the tactic of a tactic or response card that has only 1 target. Okay, so like we were saying, this could just be removal for you, or you could take enhancements from somebody else. If they're about to buff up one of their cards, you can do that, and they're buffed up for the whole level, so that's awesome. I think this is going to be a really fun card, and it's kind of like a counter spell for certain cards that just gives you a benefit for using it, and only at 2 token cost. Then we have another, whoops, dropping stuff. Then we have another survivor fighter. It's Chirp. I guess that was our Signal Jam, was our lamp falling. Hopefully the lighting is better than it was before it fell. What is pulling that? Jeez Louise. Okay. Can we see that? Oh man, let's pause. Try to pause. And we're back. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Check. Okay. Probably shouldn't do that in the middle of the video. But anyways, we're back to it. I should have done that while I was... Okay, we're good. So we fixed our lamp. We should be good. Okay, so where were we? We're talking about Chirp. So it's another survivor fighter. This one's from the Herald subfaction, and it's 2 2 2 2 2. All right, so level 2, 2 health, 2 attack cost, and 2 attack damage. And you can pay 2 and tap Chirp to put 2+1 attack counters on target survivor fighter. This card seems amazing. Another bit of synergy with Paya, which isn't the center of our deck, but it's nice. It lets us include that card because we're kind of like looking for anything that's playable, and then from those playables, trying to get the best card, which I guess I just explained deck building, but you know what I mean. This is deck building. Yeah. So I mean, I think that this deck really could use a card like Chirp. And then next we've got Peacebook. So Peacebook is a level 3 fighter, survivor, and he's an artist. So yeah, so he's not from any specific sub faction. He kind of like goes solo. That's his thing. It looks like. But we'll see in the story how that goes. And then he has stealthy. So when you play him, he can't be attacked. That level. And then he also gets +1 attack when attacking mystics. So by the nature of this whole like setup, you're probably thinking like, so what's the other deck you're going to play this against? And to kind of, I mean, we could just print more copies, but to kind of optimize, I guess paper efficiency in this case, how many cards are we going to have, um, you know, printed? We're trying to print 3 copies of each one, and there'll be absolutely no overlap if we go ahead and use Mystic Shifter as our other deck. And of course, there's 6 different decks you could build, and some of them might actually have better synergy than this one even. But I figured that we'd have Peacebook in this, and then there's a 1-cost card. If I can find where I put the cards. There's a 1-cost rare we talked about. I think it's right here. We'll kind of show that if we can find a copy of it. That is actually. Oh, let me see it real quick. Dang, where is this card? 1 copy. That's what we're looking for. Okay, Yoshi, victory at all costs. Okay, so this one is an anti-synth card, which we're not running too many synths. So I think Peacebook might end up being a little bit like if it ends up being more of a mystic heavy deck that we're facing, then it's going to be kind of interesting. But this is Yoshi. So there's one, from what I can tell so far, card that's like strong against. Oh, 1 second. I got mail. All right. So let's get back to it. We've got, okay, so we just talked about Chirp. We talked about Peacebook. Okay, so let's talk about Cat 5. Okay, so the blue light. All right, we'll set it here. There we go. Okay, so let's get there we go. Cat 5 is a level 3 survivor fighter from the Redacted subfaction. And then she's got 4 health and an attack cost of 3 with 1 attack damage. And when Cat enters play, you gain 1 token for each other survivor on your team. And then when Cat deals attack damage, she deals that much damage to another target fighter or boss. So this is another card that really you need enhancements to make super strong. But we've got with Turner Strap Hanger and a couple of jacked hammers and stuff, we've got some ways of improving that attack to make it even stronger. And then otherwise, she kind of plays as additional like cash money like way of getting resources quickly. So I think that's going to be a pretty darn strong card. And that's also the rare in the Survivor faction that we pulled, which is really cool to be able to, have that. And a level 3, it comes out pretty early. So really good card in my opinion. And then we've got, we already talked a little bit about Paya. But Paya is a synth. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Trying to hold the camera where it's steady. There we go. Okay, so Paya is a synth fighter, level 4, and she's from the Defaced subfaction. She's got 4 health and then an attack cost of 3 and 4 attack damage.
And then when Paya enters play, you may destroy an enhancement you own. And if you do, you get to draw a card. So there's a little bit more card draw, trading in some of those attack tokens. And I think that the card we're about to talk about really synergizes with Paya really well. And I think like in a more synth heavy deck, having 3 each of those would be really nice. And another thing is we have a lot of 3-ofs of our units. So that's going to cause some problems since you can only have one of them on the field at a time. Um, but we could have run a couple more like 1-ofs and taken out some of these. So we'll see how that goes if that becomes a problem. We still have to play and tweak the deck and see how that goes. But so she has this response of 2 token cost you can fortify. So she's going to basically, well, I'll just read it. This ability can be used from your hand on a synth. Oh, I didn't read that there was only synths that can be fortified. Okay, so it works on synths that aren't fortified, and you place this card under a synth boss or fighter um, on your team. That synth uh, gains health equal to this fighter's health. So they're going to gain 4 health. Now, reading that again, I think that the fact that we're only running a total of 7 synth fighters, we actually would want to kind of change that up. So, wow, that does kind of pose a problem. But she has another ability, so we can still use that. And then if we have like 2 copies of Paya, we can use her fortify ability on herself, which is pretty interesting. So we might consider like adding some of the cards we like. We could add, like for example, we could go with another Skell, and then maybe another. Let's see. Let's see. We could go with another Mr. Purple, and then maybe run 1 copy of Paya, but then it's even less chance of her being useful in that case. So maybe running another Jacked Hammer. I mean, so yeah, so those might be the cards we end up trading out. But then we'd be really low on 4-drops. I mean, we could just go ahead and go with 2 more copies of Lakay. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Undecided on that yet, but yeah, so very important that Fortify only works on synths. So like we have to further consider our synth synergy, but I did think it was interesting. We might be able to run 1 Paya and then like 3 Lakay, but we'll see how that goes. So you know, yeah. So Lakay Clockwork Hunter is a level 4 synth fighter from the Endling subfaction, and she has 4 health and then has 1 token attack cost with 1 attack, but she enters with 2 +1 attack counters. And at the beginning of each level, you remove a +1 attack counter from Lakay. So Lakay and Paya, they kind of synergize where you can like play them on the same level. Like you go ahead and play Lakay, and then you attack with Lakay, and then maybe she takes some damage and she's going to be destroyed. Then you can play a Paya and remove that +1/+1 counter early and just kind of like get that value out of Lakay. I don't know how much in practice that'll do, but we'll kind of like, I mean, Lakay starts out really strong and gets weaker over time. So we'll see how that plays out, but we might have to kind of supplement with some other cards here. Um, yeah, to kind of like, I don't know, maybe more 6-drops, but that seems kind of crazy. But yeah, I think we could definitely like, let's see, maybe another 5-drop. Maybe we could go with, I don't know, maybe run 1 Stay Hydrated just to test it out to see if it does some good stuff, just kind of as like a surprise ability. Um, yeah, or maybe run 1 Lakay to test that out and then go with this. Yeah, so that might be what we ended up doing. But yeah, and those are already all cards we are running, so we've already read those ones. But yeah, I don't know though. I think that just having that first ability on Paya might be enough to run her. So we'll see how that goes. And then here's another synth fighter, which is a level 5, our only level 5 that we're running, with 4 health. Oh, and from the Marquis subfaction. So Fishhooks has 2 token attack costs with 3 attack, and they have the Enforcer ability. So this must always be attacked before another boss or fighter on your team if able. So he kind of defends your other units, like your more utility based units like Chirp, or your attackers that are getting in free every turn like Skell, um, and your boss, of course. And then if Peace Book is very effective later on, that'll protect him. But they have the same attack value kind of thing. But having that extra 4 health in front of your other units is pretty powerful. Um, and then similarly, we have another enforcer here with Just Elias Protector. And let me get a copy of that so I can read it because I'm trying to look at the mic while showing you the card too. But Just Elias is a level 6 survivor. He's from the Herald's faction, and he's got 6 health, and then he's got a 1 attack cost with a 2+ attack. So, like I was saying, he has Enforcer just like Fishhooks. But Just Elias gets +1 attack if he has 3 or less health. So your opponents kind of have to attack him first and get him to that point, and then he has a 1 token attack cost for 3 damage, which is really nice. And then we have 2 copies here at the end of Mr. Purple. And Mr. Purple is a level 6. He's from the Van Houten faction. He's got 5 health, 2 token attack cost for 3 damage, and he has a response with 2 token attack costs, and your team heals for 1. So since Sky has that synergy with having a bunch of fighters, especially a bunch of survivor fighters out, you're hoping to have a big team of units, a big team of fighters. And I think that Mr. Purple will do nicely with that, just healing them up, especially if you have one of your enforcers out to protect Mr. Purple. So that's the whole deck here. And then we got to build the other one and kind of see like how they would face off and get some play tests in. Thank you very much for listening. I would really appreciate it if you gave me a like and a subscribe. That would be really nice. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And I think it's really cool just to like they gave us a lot of different cards, and enough to build like at least 2 constructed decks, and more than that, really, just by printing out a couple of copies of them. So I think this is going to be interesting, and it's going to let us test constructed decks before we even get the cards. So this is going to be great. All right, have a great day. Thank you for listening, and talk to you next time.